I meant to record this on Super Bowl Sunday, February 13th, but I procrastinated, and so I'm doing it on Valentine's Day and the day of Frederick Douglass's birthday, February 14th. I wanted to do it on Super Bowl day because it sort of demonstrates the peculiar upside down nature of the country, its social status, its social attitude, and political attitude, and its sense of justice, which is essentially perpetual injustice toward the African. Football, which is, I guess, actually America's sports pastime, is made up of 70% African American men and one African head coach, and one other dubious, supposedly African head coach. So, in effect, 1.5 African American coaches. He is perhaps biracial, but for all intents and purposes, he looks like a white guy. And I think that probably also demonstrates the level of duplicity that is the American psyche. But apart from making commentary on that on Super Bowl Sunday, I wanted to speak on the nature of the American society. American society is, and I think it's also important, I suppose I would like to leave a historical account from my perspective, the perspective of the foundational Black American, ADOS, African descendants of slaves. I thought I should leave my perspective because I think, for the most part, it's reasonable to assume that the oppressed actually has a more truthful view of a society, because their lived experience, if they are truthful about it, and I think most would be, is really an unvarnished account of the society's activities. And I say that American society is a society of injustice. That's really not up for debate. I mean, even though at this point white supremacists are trying to erase and stifle the truth about American history from the rest of America, and of course that means from the rest of the world. The fact that they're trying to do that in itself reveals a great deal about the country, that it is deceitful as well, among other things. Ronald Reagan, who himself was a racist, a stone, demonstrably clear racist, but somehow he is held in very high esteem in the country on both sides of the political spectrum. Imagine that. That's also revelatory. But he was clearly quite a racist. He said that America was a shining city on the hill, yet he began his campaign for president in the county that wherein three civil rights activists, voting activists, were murdered and bodies hidden away. That was no small incident. That had been a serious topic of discussion for decades. Yet it is there that he began his campaign for president, and that the meaning of that move, that demonstration, is very clear. He was appealing to white supremacists, murderous white supremacists. Now, he began his campaign there under those circumstances, yet he calls America the shining city upon the hill. What kind of city is it? Shining, it's a wealthy city. It can afford lots of lights and sheen and fireworks and demonstrations of pomp and circumstance, self-aggrandizement. Yeah, I can do all of that. And people from the outside will look at it and say, oh, how shiny, how impressive. Oh, that's something I want to get close to. I want to be a part of that because it's wealthy and oh, how it gleams. But in actuality, what's happening behind the walls of that shiny city on the hill is injustice, murder, lynchings, general oppression, and the perpetual maligning of the African, and of the African being shot down in the streets of this shining city by hired thugs that African Americans pay for. They're commonly called the police. African Americans actually are paying for their own execution by thugs, the Gestapo. It is the physical arm of white supremacist oppression, and it is vile. That is really America. Yes, not all Americans are that vile, but a good percentage of them are. After all, it is America that enslaved Africans for hundreds of years. I don't think that people really think about the real dynamic of such a situation. A people consider themselves so above morality and justice and humanity that they would enslave and attempt to enslave them for eternity. Think about that. Think about what kind of people would do such a thing. And they often talk about, a lot of black people say, well, they treat us, they don't treat us like we're human. And many talk about, protest that we're human, we're men, like somehow white people don't know this. They know it. They just don't want to compete with you. They don't want you to have equality. They don't want you to be able to compete with them, to outshine them, which we just automatically do. So they want to limit our capacity, essentially. They want to limit our capacity to compete. They want to limit our capacity to achieve because they are so determined to be superior. Someone who has that kind of deep, deep need, in my opinion, is someone who feels deep down inferior. Because if, in fact, they were superior, they wouldn't have to worry about us so much. They wouldn't have to deprive us so much. They wouldn't have to kill us because they would just sort of automatically excel because they are so superior, right? Yeah, well, that somehow is not how they manifest their feelings. The actual manifestation is a people who are afraid of competition, afraid of our presence. And of course, our presence is glowing, it's shining, it is, our body is the lover of the sun. Every day we step out and the sun makes love to us. Not quite the same with their skin. So, that's sort of a deeper topic to go into. But essentially, the United States is a country of general injustice and inequality, racial inequality, and class inequality as well. And class is in America is determined by both color and finance. So the African American has to deal with both those issues. Finances are intentionally kept from us. So that puts us in the lower class as a group, generally speaking. And of course, our color also is used against us. Automatically sets off discriminative actions and attitudes.